Hi, I'm T-Flex, and I don't know how to YouTube.
What did I do? What did I do? Don't tell me I deleted my whole script!
I care a lot about body positivity, fat acceptance, that whole intersection of stuff. And also, I diet. And that's a thing people think is not compatible. I've been in the fitness community for the past 12 years or so. I do a lot of powerlifting and roller derby. And if you spend a lot of time in like fitness-oriented spaces, you'll get a lot of this stuff.
Body positivity glorifies obesity. Before, I was a garbage person, but now I'm a paragon of virtue. Welcome to my channel. Join me today as I eviscerate health at every size with science. It's simple. Calories in, calories out. No one defies physics. There's no such thing as thin privilege, just fat consequences.
And that's a lot. But then like there's the body positivity community, which everyone I think has heard of and is familiar with, but I don't think a lot of people can really like nail down exactly what is that. There's a lot of stuff just crammed into that one hashtag, and so to an outsider it can seem a little bit like,
Body positivity is about loving yourself and self-care. That's why I nourish my body, I honor my hunger, and I engage in joyful movement. I'm a human being who deserves to be treated with respect and dignity, and the size of my body is none of your goddamn business. Look, I just need one place on the goddamn internet where I don't need to listen to people telling me how many calories are in their toothpaste or how much weight they lost when they took a shit this morning.
On Instagram, I may look like an extremely attractive person, but really I'm a normal attractive person.
Diet culture is everywhere, but diets don't work. You should learn to eat intuitively instead.
And I think there are some people who think that body positivity is all of those things, and other people who think that body positivity is just some of those things. And then that can just lead to really widely different opinions on something like, can Lizzo go on a juice cleanse? Like, what happens if a body positivity influencer decides to lose some weight for her health? Like, that's a tough question, and people disagree on what the answer should be.
It's just about loving yourself. Of course you should do whatever's best for her body. No, this is why body positivity is a toxic sham. Look, you do whatever you want to do with your body, but you can't be promoting harmful dieting practices and pretending to be body positive.
And I think it's like more nuanced than that, so let's talk about it. Body positivity wasn't always about big corporations including young, attractive fat people in their commercials. You're beautiful just the way you are, but your armpits look like shit by our soap! Body positivity as we know it today grew out of the radical fat acceptance movement of the 1960s.
It's a political movement advocating for the equal rights of fat people as a civil rights issue. It's about eliminating discrimination against fat people in employment or education. And it's about eliminating fat shaming. It's about fighting the idea that fat people are lazy or gross. And a big part of it is about medical discrimination. Fat people have a significantly harder time than thin people do accessing medical care or being taken seriously by their doctors. And the core message isn't about how I'm supposed to feel about my body, it's about how other people in society should be treating me. My body's none of your business.
This more political section of the body positivity movement, it's not just about fat bodies, it's about all marginalized bodies. I focus on fat positivity because, but that's not all. It's about people of color, trans people, disabled people, anybody with a body that's not fitting the hot white people norm. They all deserve to be represented positively in the media. They all deserve to be treated with dignity. It's just like other people treat you good. It's not like I feel great about myself. And since it's not about how you feel about your body, it's about like advocacy for your civil rights. It doesn't matter how you, you can decide you want to lose weight and still be a fat advocate. Like just because I want to lose some weight right now doesn't mean that I think people should get to mistreat me now. Everybody should talk about fat advocacy, even if you're not fat. And the dividing line on whether you should be centered in that movement or whether you are an ally isn't how you feel about yourself. It's whether you have a marginalized body. Whether you love being fat and are proud of your fat body, or you hate yourself and you lost 100 pounds through crash dieting and huffing other people's farts, if you're fat, the movement's about you. Nobody does that. Nobody huffs farts for weight loss. I just wanted to pick something that wasn't like an actual crash diet to put in my body positivity fat loss video. That's not a real thing, is it? This part is what most people think about when you talk about body positivity on the internet. If you look it up on Google, the first result is body positivity refers to the assertion that all people deserve to have a positive body image, regardless of how society, popular culture view their ideal shape, size, and appearance. And that's great. 100%. Let's do it. That's awesome.
People should be able to appreciate and accept their bodies and see people who look like them being represented out in the world. And especially, it's for skinny, conventionally attractive fitness influencers to show that even extremely hot people have cute little belly rolls when they sit down.
But real talk though, all kidding aside, when you're fat, that can be really, really hard. If you grew up being told that having a perfect body is a prerequisite for self-worth, then finding some way to love or at least accept your body is a prerequisite to living a fulfilling life in the world. And I can laugh all I want about the hot people who need moral support for their braces or scabby elbows or whatever it is that hot people feel self-conscious about. But especially for hot women, they're under so much more pressure to feel like your body's all you got. This is patriarchy. If you believe that you only have value when your body is absolutely perfect, yeah, it's important that even the super hot people get the message that normal people don't have photoshopped off pores. It's just oh my God, I get it. And there's a lot of overlap between this body positivity part and this fat acceptance advocacy part, because they both are really invested in the positive portrayal of fat people in the media.
Some people are saying it's so cool to see Lizzo looking good as hell on a magazine cover because that makes me see the beauty in myself. They might also be saying it's so cool to see Lizzo as a pop icon because there's nothing about being fat that precludes a person from being a pop icon.
It could even be the same person saying both of those things. That's a normal thing to feel. Anyway, body positivity is something that most people don't think is incompatible with fat loss. If it's for the hot Instagrammers with the elbow problems, it's for everybody.
As long as you don't imply that other people need to lose weight in order to love or accept their body, and you do it in a way that's healthy and driven by your concern for your health and wellness rather than trying to make your body look a certain way. Really, it's about listening to your body, and there's no such thing as good foods or bad foods, and I'm gonna keep talking.
Health at every size. Let's talk about that, okay? Health at Every Size started as a specific branch of the fat advocacy movement that was dealing specifically with health discrimination against fat people.
In the 1940s to the 1960s, there were a lot of studies coming out regarding the human body's response to starvation and overfeeding.
Look, I'm not going to waste your time by going over all the specifics of every single one of these studies. Maybe sometime in the future, I'll make a video about that and put it here. No? Sorry. I think you're going to have to Google it yourself. Minnesota starvation experiment. Dr. Ethan Sims, Vermont. Google, go. But they're really fascinating studies, and I encourage you to look them up. But basic takeaway is, if you lock a bunch of normal-sized people in a room and you overfeed them or you underfeed them for months on end, then some of them gain or lose a bunch of weight fast, some do it slow, they all have a terrible time, and then they eventually return to their original weight, except some of them are much fatter. Regardless of if it was under or over, the thing you get as a result is fat people.
This coincided with that 1960s push for equal rights for fat people. And it led to a lot of people saying, hey, maybe now that there's this evidence that maybe diets don't work for the majority of people and are actually kind of harmful, maybe until we have some concrete method of weight reduction that'll work for the majority of people in the long term, Instead of advocating that everyone should lose as much weight as quickly as possible, we should instead be suggesting that fat people make the concrete, healthy choices that we know will lead to better health outcomes.
These people were not saying every size is equally healthy. They were saying no matter what your size is, your doctor's primary recommendations should be based on what's best for your health. The things that we know are healthy are largely the same, regardless of like what size you're gonna be. You eat a bunch of vegetables, you don't eat a bunch of processed foods and snacks and desserts, and you move your body, and you don't sit on your butt all day. Ta-da! And for a lot of people, like just making those kind of healthful changes for their health, even if they're not trying to lose weight, it will make you lose weight. Even if that's not the point. Look, you either should be shaming everybody, fat or thin, if they're not eating vegetables, or don't shame anybody for that. Like, stop eating the garbage, you lazy piece of shit! Because come on, like, health discrimination against fat people is a real thing. No matter what problem you go to your doctor with, if there's a way it can be blamed on your weight, it will be blamed on your weight. And like, sure, if they're saying like, hey, we could fix this problem with a really invasive surgery, or you could just not eat donuts for 6 months. How about we try the donuts first, and if it doesn't work, come back and do the surgery. Like, that's a reasonable thing to think. That is not what doctors do.
Or you go to your doctor and you're like, hey, my knees have been really bothering me for the past 6 months.
Yeah, I know nobody really likes to talk about this, but you're in the obese range. Do you think you've ever considered losing weight?
Yeah, actually, that was another thing I wanted to talk to you about. I've been kind of having difficulty keeping my weight down, and I mean, I've been on keto, but it's not really.
Well, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Keep up the good work. Anything else bothering you today? It's like the medical intervention begins and ends with telling you you're fat. Imagine if we treated other health problems that way.
Yup, that looks like strep throat. Bye!
Look, either being fat is a medical problem, and your doctor, who is the one charged with managing your medical care, should be the one tasked with helping you fix it. Write me a prescription for 3 times weekly CrossFit and call me if it's not working. Or it's just who you are, and it's a lifestyle thing. Your doctor handles the medical stuff, and your body weight is between you and your Instagram life coach. Look, you agree with their interpretation of the science, or you don't. My opinions on it are nuanced. But like, it doesn't change the fact that fat people deserve equal access to medical care is a reasonable political position. And you can believe that whether or not you think it's in your best interest to diet. Okay, so then coming out of this like more political movement came the concept of intuitive eating. It's not about body feelings, it's not about politics, it's a nutritional recommendation for how to approach eating like without specifically trying to diet. It's like Weight Watchers or Atkins. Like, no, I mean, it's not like Atkins or Weight Watchers in any kind of material way. It's in that it is a plan for how you approach your food that if you eat like this, you will be healthy. Like, it's a plan. And it's not just like, eat whatever you want, bye! Like, it's a series of like actual good, complex nutritional recommendations about how to be in touch with your satiety signals and your hunger and like what your body actually needs versus like just what's you having feelings. And it's not just for fat people. Like, you might have heard of Stephanie Buttermore, who is a very popular YouTuber. She used to be a fitness competitor, like bodybuilding, and she was super lean and her hunger was completely out of control. So her doctor's like, hey, try intuitive eating. So she spent like a year on an all-in journey, she called it, where it was just intuitive eating, and it really helped her to get in a better place with her body. It's also frequently used as a part of eating disorder recovery. And I mean, like, you can imagine if a person is on a specific like intuitive eating plan because they have an eating disorder, like they don't want you talking about your diet over there. And if you think deliberately trying to eat less to lose weight is going to be harmful for your body, but you still feel pressure to be a certain size, can you imagine how those kinds of people might want to seek out like spaces on the internet where they don't have to deal with that crap? Like whether you're fat or thin, or you have like a serious eating disorder or a biological health problem, or you just like would rather focus on your blog and learning to play the guitar, people have a right to like pick what kind of online spaces they want to hang out in and like what they want in that online space. Like, let them do that. If you want to come in here and debate me on intuitive eating versus my nebulous approach of food crap, go ahead. Hit me up in my comment section.
Let's eviscerate each other.
But disagreeing with them about what's best for me doesn't give me a right to go into their anorexia support group and talk about my weigh-ins, even if some fat people are in the anorexia support group. Look, my point is that intuitive eating, agree with it or not, it's just a nutritional plan. Like, it's not body positivity. It's not all of fat acceptance. It's one part of it that a lot of people believe in. There are plenty of people who are into intuitive eating and then also body positivity and also fat advocacy because there's a lot of overlap there. But that doesn't mean that like they're all intrinsically linked and you must buy into all of them in order to buy into some of them. Look, but as body positivity became the part of this movement that really took off with everything else just kind of like in that umbrella, like it's easy to believe that there's just like this giant conglomeration of people shouting,
If you're not eating Cheetos in a crop top, you're a bad person.
when really it's a bunch of different people all under the same umbrella, and some of those people don't want your keto farts stinking up the umbrella. Hashtag keto fart positivity. I'm here. My farts smell vaguely like salami. Get used to it. Like, so what do you even do with that? Like, sure, stand up for the rights of fat people. Talk about all the bodies respectfully, and when you're in spaces where people are trying to avoid diet talk, don't talk about your diet. Save the diet talk for the fitness and nutrition spaces. Like, is that enough? Did I fix the internet? Can we all go home now? Okay. Like, most of them don't literally hate fat people, but something about nutrition and like fitness spaces can be really like uniquely awful to be in when you're fat. Like, and I'm not even talking about intuitive eating fat people. Like, they cannot go there full stop. Those places can be even really tough for the people who've like completely bought in, like, I'm fat, I'm gonna try to not be fat, but please don't say I'm a garbage person kind of fat people. I mean, look, it's not anybody's fault, but like most of the fitness and nutrition internet is really focused on bodybuilding. And nobody calls it that except for like actual like competitive bodybuilders. But like the majority of like the experts and the leaders in this discussion, they're not fat people trying to get healthy. They're medium-sized people trying to get like smoking and babylicious. And like, that's what bodybuilding is. It's the definition of what your body looks like one thing, you make it look different. So like you check out a fitness forum and you get like,
Hey guys, I'm kind of new to fitness in general. I'm kind of like, I guess, skinny fat. I'm trying to kind of lose the flab on my waist and then maybe try to tone up a little bit. Like, do you think I should cut first, bulk first, or try to recomp at maintenance?
I mean, that really depends more on what your priorities are. If you care more about looking hot in a bathing suit, then you should probably...
Well, actually, if you're a complete beginner, newbie gains can generally take you a really far way into the direction of recomposition. Women should never bulk. You're probably just gonna get fat.
Seriously? What is wrong with you?
have you actually seen how big a lean 145-pound woman is? Like, there's no way she's going to be able to put on enough muscle at that weight to get lean, even if recomposition were...
Look, it's not that fitness experts don't care about fat people. We really genuinely want to help fat people who are trying to make a change in their lives. Everybody starts somewhere. It's just that that's not what most of them are interested in. I mean, sure, some of them are formerly fat people who are trying to encourage others to follow the same path that they did. But most of the experts are lean athletes at the top of their game who are mostly interested in researching topics relevant to other lean athletes at the top of their game. And if they have any experience at all with losing weight, it's either with going from a normal size to extremely lean as a part of some kind of a bodybuilding thing, or maybe they got injured and gained some weight and are returning to their normal healthy size. They don't have a ton of experience with going from very fat to a normal size. Unless they're doctors or nutritionalists who are regularly working with very obese people, they don't have a lot of context or sometimes even interests on what those people are going through. They want to talk about the stuff that's relevant to them, and that's reasonable.
But that can make it really grating to spend a bunch of time with a bunch of people who are like considerably smaller than you, going like, I can finally wear a crop top, when you're like,
I'm wearing a crop top right now.
It can also mean that oftentimes it's really hard to parse out what advice is actually relevant to you. Like sometimes people talk about health and fitness and nutrition as if they're the same thing, but they're not. They're different. And or like they'll talk about fat people as if they automatically mean beginners or people who are trying to lose weight. Like they might say a food is bad for you when they mean that it's fattening or it causes water retention. Sometimes you don't like have the information and you feel like you just have to avoid everything. They might say like, if you're fat, you shouldn't eat that many carbs, or like if you're fat, you shouldn't be bulking and cutting. What does that even mean? Fat people have different goals.
I'm gonna lose some weight during the off season and then switch to a more moderate eating plan when the season starts so that I don't injure myself trying to play a full contact sport on a prolonged caloric deficit.
How many beats should she eat? Like, should she do fasted cardio? Are burpees good?
No! They suck and I hate them!
Like, fat people deserve specific information on why something is healthy or unhealthy so they can decide for themselves if that fits with their goals.
And I think another really important thing to recognize about why fitness communities are more concerned with these kind of piddly aesthetic optimizations than the topics that are really important to fat people trying to get lean, it's that, well, that stuff's not particularly hard. If you're fat and trying to become smaller, you don't need to like super optimize your micronutrient ratios. You don't need fancy supplements or carb cycling. Just eating better, moving more, and consuming fewer calories than you burn is going to eventually result in weight loss. And there's really so many ways a person can say that and still make interesting YouTube content. Like, can you imagine if I was just sitting here being like, hey guys, it's over again. There are a lot of people in the fitness internet who say that fat loss is easy. Or that if you just make the right basic healthy choices, you'll definitely lose weight. Like anything with the word just in it, like you just have to eat fewer calories than you burn. You just have to cut out carbohydrates. Like that's not a particularly big ask. Like all the thin people are already eating like that. And if you're fat, then you're definitely just eating like an asshole. And I'm sure some of them really mean it. Like there are these people on the fitness internet who are like formerly fat people who made a bunch of basic healthy choices and they got lean and it was significantly easier than they thought it was going to be. And like that blew their minds and they think everybody needs that information. Because for some people it is that way. Like you think it's going to be this crazy thing where you have to do a bunch of like crash dieting, but by just making basic healthy choices, your weight starts going down and they want everyone to know that. Like I get why I get why they say that. I really do. But it sucks when you're one of the people where it's not easy. And especially for those kinds of people or like the lean people who listen to them, it's really hard for them to hear someone say like, I'm trying to diet and it's really hard. Like that messes with their worldview. They legitimately feel in their heart of hearts that saying weight loss is hard is killing people. And there's also a lot of less like honest people saying that weight loss is easy, like anyone who's ever sold a diet book. Have you ever like opened a diet book and it said like this is really hard but you should do it anyway? Like, no. There is an obesity epidemic affecting the world as we know it right now. Everybody thinks it's a complex, multifaceted problem caused by a human physiology designed to survive periods of food scarcity, being forced into an environment where jobs are sedentary, food is plentiful and designed to be hyper-palatable and infused into every social situation you could possibly imagine, but that's just stupid. I've discovered the actual reason. It's marshmallow peeps. Marshmallow peeps make you fat. I'm gonna give you a combination of personal anecdotes and actual scientific data about the correlation between peep consumption and human obesity. And it's actual real science. You can go look it up and read those articles. They are very convincing. And now that you know that, if you just follow my 17 easy steps to build yourself an underground bunker and stay in it until Easter is over, you can never be fat again. It just works. You're not fat because some aspect of your lifestyle or biology is making you more susceptible to our weird and maladapted food culture than other people are. You're fat because you didn't know about marshmallow peeps, and now you do. This plan is easy, and it will change your life.
It's not that they're lying. I mean, like, okay, like some of them are like, this bottle contains ketones and it will like 1995. But sometimes they just honestly believe that. They read the science, it resonated with them, and now they think they solved obesity. And once you believe something, especially with some kind of a scientific evidence behind it, it's really easy for every other piece of evidence that you find to support your existing conclusion. Someone will come out with a study that's like, veganism is better than keto, and then all the vegans will be like, see, and all of the keto people will be like, this study is garbage. It's all garbage. So you end up with this situation where not only are all the experts saying, it just works, it's easy, it's science, everybody in the community is reading that, they're hopped up on that information, and they're like, it just works, it's easy, it's science. It's the zealotry of the convert. Imagine you're fat and feeling kind of bad about your self-image, and then you find this YouTube video about intermittent fasting, and it seems like, that guy makes a lot of sense, maybe I'll try that. And then you try it, and it works, and you lose a bunch of weight, and you're like, oh my God, this is the answer, I found it. And then you start kicking yourself oh my God, if only I'd known this 10 years ago, I'd be done by now. I have to share this information with everyone I know. And that attitude doesn't prepare them for when they or someone else they know struggles with weight loss. Someone will post on Reddit saying, hey, I'm following my diet exactly, but it's not working out for me. I start my day off with some skim milk and some kashi.
Skim milk? I only drink whole milk because skim milk is higher glycemic.
Whole milk? That's way too many calories. She doesn't need whole milk.
Yeah, I only drink coffee or tea. I don't consume any liquids with calories in them.
Oh, some whiny baby needs their hot flavored tree water? I only drink tap water because I actually care about my results.
Is that really all you ate? You didn't get to be 200 pounds by eating skim milk and kashi.
Almost everybody you're likely to encounter in a fitness community is kind of running to some degree on self-hatred and blind faith. They're still in that phase of their lifestyle change where they're like, oh my God, before I was a total asshole, but now that I know the secret, I'm never gonna be fat again. So anyone it's not working for has to be either lazy or lying or doing it wrong. So when they do hit a snag in their diet, like everybody does, they might lie about it and pretend they feel great all the time. They're cooking these enormous Instagram meals and then they drink a protein shake and go to bed hungry. They're talking online about all things in moderation, but then feeling sad and isolated at a barbecue while they drink a White Claw and listen to all of their friends talk about how good some local donut shop is. Or they fail on their diet, rebound, gain some weight, and then leave the community never to be heard from again. So the only people left are the ones who say it's easy. And I'm just gonna come out and say, I don't think it's easy. I'm having a real hard time. Who knows why? Maybe I'm a lazy piece of shit who can't do hard things. I've been obese since I was 12 years old, and I produce about twice as much estrogen as a normal human woman, and I have lipedema. I'm not gonna give you the entire history of every doctor who's ever asked me if I had tried Weight Watchers because we don't have time for that, and I cannot stress enough to you how much I have twice as much estrogen as a normal human woman, and that crying would be uncomfortable for all of us. High estrogen means that I'm more likely to store my body fat in my arms and legs than somewhere like my torso. Lipedema makes it so that the fat in my arms and legs is kind of growing around my lymphatic system, so water gets trapped in there, making my fat into these little metabolically inaccessible nodules. It's like those little fatty lumps that your dog gets on their back when they get older. It's not like normal fat, it's like a tumor made of fat. Basically, most of my body fat is like cellulite on steroids, and everybody knows how hard it is to lose cellulite. Some doctors think that it's impossible to lose lipedema fat. Others think that an anti-inflammatory diet might help, but they all agree that it's really, really hard, but losing regular fat is still possible, and it's really important that you keep that under control if you want to continue walking as you get older, because it's a progressive condition. So I've been here trying to keep this shit under control since 2008. And I'm not the only one who's having trouble losing weight. There's people with PCOS or thyroid conditions.
Actually, thyroid conditions are generally only responsible for approximately 5 to 10 pounds of weight gain. The rest is your fault. I have PCOS and I can control my weight with diet and exercise. It's not impossible. Stop making excuses.
Come on, I didn't say impossible. I said hard. It's really hard. PCOS, thyroid, taking an antidepressant, post-pregnancy hormone changes, having been fat for a really long time, having a bad relationship with foods, having an injury that makes it harder to work out. Like, none of these things make it impossible to lose weight, but there's a million different things that can make it harder, and that can really suck when someone's like, this is super easy, and you're like, I'm having a bad time. And that's not even counting the people who might have a completely undiagnosed medical condition, making it more difficult for them to lose weight because doctors don't listen to fat people sometimes. For some people, absolutely, the message of, if you just eat right and exercise, you will lose weight. It's not easy, but it's simple. You just do it and it works. That message is what gets them to stop fearing change and make healthful changes for their body. But for other people, if it's not easy, that message can be really isolating. I can understand that the body positivity movement includes a lot of people who for some reason or another can't or don't want to be around diet talk. So I should keep my weight loss talk out of there and just hang out when I want to talk about my sick new crop top. Come on, I look great. But also, there are some aspects of the fitness community that are not meeting my needs. I don't want to spend all my time comforting 134-pound ladies whose arm fat got a little jigglier when they lost 4 pounds. And I don't want to pretend I'm not failing to lose weight on my extremely boring ass diet, because if I do say those specific numbers out loud, I'm gonna get accused of both lying and having an eating disorder. Hi, I'm T-Flex, and I'm fat, and I'm dieting, and there's a very real possibility that I'm going to be both fat and dieting for the rest of my life. And I'm as okay with that as I ever can be. I want to make a community for people who are trying to be okay with that. And in my time dragging my ass through the fitness community, I've picked up a lot of really useful information about like what works and why in health and fitness and nutrition. What is a ketogenic diet and why would it help me? Or should I do weightlifting or cardio for fat loss? Or how do you deadlift when you've got a fat stomach? Or how do you do roller skating crossovers when you got big fat legs? Or just like how to have an excellent bench press. And even for fat people who don't want to diet, who are doing the intuitive eating thing, a lot of the time they want to get information about health and fitness and nutrition that isn't just coated in this thin layer of fat hatred. I want people to have a place to get information like that and have their slap fights about carbohydrates without the implication that being fat is bad or that you should be trying to diet 100% of the time. You might be trying to lose weight, you might not. Your body, your choice. You should have a place to get that information that's not hostile to you. I want an evidence-driven, fat-positive space to talk about fitness and nutrition. But all the terms that we could possibly use to describe that are already extremely overloaded. Let's just call it fat positive fat loss. I mean, fat positivity is already a thing. But what if you just like smush it in there with the fat loss as one term? Or like abbreviate it, like FOPOFILO. It sounds like a fat buffalo creature, and that's kind of cute. If you're interested in FOPOFILO, or you have a better idea of what we could call that than FOPOFILO, or if just you have ideas of how you could make a fitness community more pleasant for you to hang out in when you're a fat person who doesn't hate fat people, please hit me up in my comment section. That sounds like a great thing we could put together. Or if you have questions about health or fitness or nutrition that you'd like me to like research and present with a bunch of fart jokes. I made so many fart jokes. Why didn't anyone tell me how many fart jokes were in this? Let's put that together. That sounds like fun. I guess I'll see you in a month when I make my next video, because this was not easy. How do people do this and have jobs?
I don't play for arch rivals. I just stand Kayla Woodward.
I'm sorry, can we just talk for a second about how easy it is to tell which trophies come from powerlifting and which ones come from roller derby? This one's for first place in the strict curl.
It's for most valuable, super awesomest, positive, fantastic, supportive, beautiful roller goddess.
December 2017. I'm never clearly wearing a crop top because I don't have a torso.
I could be soft. See, it's a crop top.
There's this one competition where all the dudes got trophies that looked like this, but they didn't have any with like chicks on them, so the chicks got like eagles. I feel like I have more in common with a human man than an eagle, but you know.